put you on speakerphone.
Okay, hold on.
All right. Hey, everybody. It's True Powers Mind, TMP. That's our live with Judge Joe Brown. Have him for a few minutes this afternoon.
Hang on.
All righty. Okay, I just wanted to start off by saying, thank you for coming on the show, obviously, but when Nancy Pelosi says that we are having a constitutional crisis with Donald Trump, what exactly?
No, we're not. No, we're not. That's so much crap. That's propaganda. It's classic Nazi-style propaganda. I'm not supporting Trump, but it's. Let me give you a homework assignment so the next time something like this comes up, you get the idea. Write this down. Joseph Goebbels, Goebbels. That was the Nazi minister of propaganda. And what has happened is a complete role reversal in this country. The right wing is beginning to support strongly civil liberties. And the left wing is beginning to attack them because they don't want people exercising them to say things that are dangerous to their propaganda agenda. All right? Now, they are accusing Trump of something. And Goebbels said, one of the things you do is accuse your opponent of what you are thinking of doing.
Projection.
Yes, exactly. So everything Trump is doing is borne out by the Constitution. I just went back and read it twice yesterday, sitting in an airport. It takes about an adult about 5 to 10 minutes to read the whole U.S. Constitution. It's not long. It's quite short. And when you deal with the enumerated powers of the chief executive, it's pretty plain he can do what he's doing. Particularly when you get to the laws that have been passed to facilitate it. So he's not doing anything out of line. It's just that he's not doing what the left/Democratic Party wants him to do. So there's nothing they can do about it. So what they do is they try to propagandize with the support of the mainstream media that he's doing something wrong. So, it's kind of like when somebody has rubbed your face in the mud, you can go, nah, 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 nah. See, that's kind of what they're doing. So they got the worst of this exchange. They are dead wrong. And here's another problem. They have so few trained lawyers in this House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate now that you run into a big problem. Even with lawyers and judges, probably less than 25% of the American judges and lawyers have actually read the Constitution, which doesn't take but about 10 minutes to read. They've studied some aspects of it, but very few are familiar with it. So what's going on is you got these people who do stupid stuff. Like the most recent example that people may have known about was when the Democratic Party with Obama passed the Economic Incentive Act that was drafted by Geithner. 43 of them wrote letters demanding that the Attorney General prosecute these executives for these failed companies who were using federal money to pay their bonuses. Well, what they did not realize, because they hadn't read the bill that they signed, is that the fine print that Geithner, Obama's Treasury Secretary, and who drafted the bill had put in there was that they could. So all of them bailed once they find out, oh boy, we're really going to look stupid because we hadn't read this.
Right. That's a common theme, Judge, that has been coming up. Not reading the Constitution, not reading the bills prior to voting on them.
Yeah. See, it's bad. It's not good. And it's, okay, you've been head of this committee either as the primary majority party head or you have been the minority head of this committee, and you've been on this committee for 19 years, and you haven't read this stuff, and you got a 24-year-old who doesn't have a college degree yet, and he's the one as an intern who's doing all of this stuff. You know, you're abdicating your responsibility as an elected official who's sitting in the House representative. Yeah, but that's how. So they're talking a lot of nonsense that will backfire on them because it does not fit. Another thing they're talking about is Trump issuing this executive order declaring a national emergency at the border. They're talking about the Democrats can use the national emergency clause that they claim is a clause to say something about gun violence and confiscate assault rifles. Well, you can't do that because what Trump is operating under is a specific set of 3 laws that Congress passed and has renewed several times that says if the president declares a national emergency under certain circumstances, he can get funds already available used by the Army Corps of Engineers and or the Department of the Army to build structures that may be necessary to ameliorate the emergency. And see, what they're talking about when they're saying gun control doesn't have anything to do with the Department of the Army, Corps of Engineers, or the Department of Defense using funds already appropriated to build something. So they talk this nonsense and they get the public believing it because, as Goebbels said, if you tell a lie one time, it's a lie. You tell it 1,000 times, it becomes the truth. Tell a lie long enough and loud enough and you can get anyone to believe it. That's what they're doing. Like, for example, if right now we went and talked about criminal law, your typical black leader would say, we need to get rid of stand your ground. That's how Trayvon Martin got killed. Wow. It could not. Because you know who had the right to stand his ground? It was not Zimmerman. It was Trayvon Martin.
Yes.
But see, Anderson Cooper hates guns. So he took this false premise and put it out there. And CNN said it. And then the know-nothing airheads on the other stations or networks said it. So now the public believes, particularly black people, that the problem that led to Trayvon getting shot was stand your ground. And even his family lawyer didn't realize that it was his dead client that had the right to stand your ground.
Dang, that is so true. But
and castle doctrine. How many times you've heard that? Castle doctrine doesn't apply to anything except inside your house.
Right.
You know where that came from? Most states have put that in effect. So since, okay, let's say somebody's burglarizing the house and it's in the dark of night and somebody has got a gun or a weapon and they're threatening your family and you shoot them or they fall down your stairs and break a leg, they were suing the homeowner.
Yes, I remember.
So that's why you have the castle doctrine. In other words, a man's home is his castle.
And don't go up there fooling around.
Exactly. So you bust off in a guy's house and something happens to you, that's on you, not him.
Exactly.
So it's common sense, but you see, people don't have common sense, and this agenda that the mainstream press is pushing has been repeated very long and very loudly so people accept it. That's going on about all of this unconstitutional stuff. Remember just a few weeks ago where they're talking about Trump is going to be impeached when the Mueller report is released and all that?
Yes.
He had nothing because there was nothing he did that a president is not entitled to do as the chief diplomat for the United States of America. And and see this other stuff about who he brought in to do this, that, and the other. Every single damn U.S. president, except one or two of the more recent ones, has had somebody who is a private citizen who, in confidence with the president, has gone abroad and unofficially represented the United States because he spoke for the president, and it was somebody where you could not bring in and haul over the coals because the department they worked for was getting money appropriated by Congress. Woodrow Wilson, that's been more than 100 years ago, had somebody like that. Lincoln had somebody like that. Grant had somebody like that. Roosevelt had somebody like that. Truman, Eisenhower, you name them, they all had it. So now this, long established historic precedent is looked at as, why did he have all of these people speaking to Russia? Well, hell, one of the things you do as an astute diplomat is maintain communication.
Yes.
This stuff where everybody just foolishly tried to do what they used to call saber rattling. You had a sword on your side, so you rattled it around in this metal scabbard to make noise. That's what they called it. That talking smack, see,
yes,
has an internal thing. In other words, you turn your people against an external threat, and they rally around the flag.
Yes, that's what. See, I've been talking because of how divided this country's been, and we already know that the actual agents that patrol the border down there are getting sick from the diseased immigrants, and we also have been getting reports that hundreds of thousands of these diseased persons, documented, are being released into the U.S. society.
Exactly. This stuff is no fun. See, like for example. Now, this is 30 years out of date, but they're still suffering. Personally, 4 former public defenders and 5 bailiffs, deputy sheriffs, who every month, twice a month, have to take shots because they've been exposed to tuberculosis of a strain that has no cure.
Wow.
And if it comes down and becomes active, it's fatal, 100%. So they have to take prophylactic treatment so they don't die. But you see, more of that stuff is down at the border.
Yes.
And nobody wants to talk about that crap. The other thing is see, black people are no longer the minority that the country can use to feel good about itself. You see these commercials, these poor freezing animals who have nothing to eat in the winter and they're shivering. Poor Hoover. He was thin, emaciated, and we didn't think he was going to make it. But thanks to your contributions, it looks like Hoover will pull through. They got an elected minority now, LGBTQ, yes. And that minority looks like relatives, neighbors, or co-workers that these mainstream people look at. And see, being a man is dangerous to be a man. But men are dangerous. We kill shit, animals and each other. So a lot of the society has been taught that it's all about feelings rather than rational, logical, and reasonable things. So when you're into feelings, it's very difficult to get somebody into that to want to act like a man unless he's just trying to be damn suicidal. Because he's got nothing in him and he's in a rage and doesn't know why. Because nobody taught him about being a man.
Right. No one respects you on your knees. Nobody.
Yeah. See, this thing too. A movie that I would recommend every one of these idiots who's talking smack it's called Alpha. Alpha is a wolf. And it's 20-some thousand years ago in the last ice age. And what happens is every year before the winter sets in, this clan has to go on a hunt for European buffalo. And if they don't have a successful hunt, they die. But every year they have this hunt, at least somebody doesn't come back. All right?
You got to pay the price, Judge.
So, yeah. So the idea of these young men looking forward to being on this hunt where they may perish is totally at odds with the modern scheme of things here in this country. Like, oh my God, it's so dangerous. Oh no. And like, okay, they talk about we have to do something about the space program. All of these people have been injured. Now, the death toll from the space program is very low. Right. And they have a whole lot of air bases around this country named after dead test pilots who frequently got snuffed on a regular basis testing aircraft for the Air Force or the Navy. But you see, that's unacceptable now because people aren't supposed to be put at risk.
Right.
It's like, what the hell happened to everybody? I mean, it's like, look in the Middle East. We've had less than 5,000 people killed in 18 years. There are battles here in this state in Tennessee where you can go up and they said 4,000 people died here, here, and here in one 11-hour period in 1862.
Wow.
You know, Gettysburg. You've heard of the Gettysburg Address? Yes. You know how many people died in Gettysburg in 3 days? 63,000 folk died in 3 days.
That's death.
Yeah. Now, we got 5,000 in going on 19 years. That's not a high death toll. In the North, that used to be a weekly toll. So, I mean, you see how we have started thinking about everything's supposed to be safe. And one of the more stupid aspects of it is putting women in combat units because I guess it's supposed to be safe to get shot at with an AK-47 or AK-74 these days.
But, Judge, it's so trendy. It's so trendy to have them out there in the hills.
Well, you know what's bad about it? What happens in the military spreads to the general society.
Absolutely.
So, what do we have? Women and children in the lifeboat first. Boys are stronger than girls, so they should never hit them. We have a domestic violence problem. So you put girls in a situation where the boys are being taught now that the girl can take a bullet just as well as a boy. So, you know, you have all of that. Girls aren't as strong as boys. You get that evaporated. So, hell, punch her lights out if she gets out of hand, just like you would if a dude challenged you.
That's so
See, got all kinds of negative stuff. Okay, you got a woman who's in the military to try and make a career, but she's got the same kind of inner city problems other folk do, or barrio problems, and she's got 3 kids, no husband, never had one, and her relatives say, hell no, I ain't keeping nobody for no goddamn 9 months while you on some boat out in the middle of the ocean. So what is this woman supposed to do? She's got to go find a stranger to take care of her kids or beg off and be all freaked out because the baby daddy may or may not be a good daddy, you know? It's crazy because it's all about feel good rather than rational, reasonable, and logical behavior. So when we get into this, I hope you're recording all this.
Yes, we're recording. We're live.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous when you hear this propaganda that is just exactly what the Nazis did. Yes. And so this is one of the bad things about society in general. It used to be that one party who started off being the Republicans, then it switched to being the Democrats, who looked out for constitutional law and the rights of citizens. And the other side was trying to be authoritarian. Well, right now we're in between one of those things where we've got a climatic shift where the left, read Democrats trying to protect LGBTQ, have switched over to being the authoritarian type. And the right wing is switching around in reaction to getting throttled by the efforts of the left and the media to advocating for citizens' rights, but they haven't got used to the role. So what we're getting is that black folk have been voting Democratic for about 60 years on a regular basis. They used to vote Republican. And what has happened is they haven't got over the habit of voting Democratic without getting anything for it. So what happens essentially is the Democrats get our vote, our unwavering support, but we get nothing, but everything goes to LGBT.
Right.
So I'm sorry. I feel for them. They've got their absolute rights to do what they want to do in a bedroom. But when they start dealing with social and political policy, then they are just as subject to critique and attack as the Democratic Party is, as the Republican Party is, as Donald Trump is, or Hillary Clinton was. But you see, we have this Orwellian thing from Animal Farm.
Yes. Yes.
All animals are equal, but some animals, the pigs, are more equal than others.
You know it. They flash that right in front of our face every day. You have money, you have power, you can do crime.
No. We're not talking about money and power. We're talking about something very brand new. See, they keep modeling themselves on black folk, but black people did not get the legislative benefits that LGBT gets. See, for example, in California right now, if somebody calls somebody the N-word, they might get busted in their mouth, but it's not a crime. You call somebody the F-word, in California, you get a 30-day sentence. You put on a year's probation, pay a big fine, and you got to do $200, 250 hours worth of community service if you call somebody the F-A-G word.
I know we talked about it, Judge, but that seems like someone should challenge that against a First Amendment right.
Oh, well, exactly. But you see, that's what they're doing right now. They are using this propaganda engine that, by the way, you know where Goebbels got all these ideas from?
Who?
The movie industry out of Hollywood, USA.
Wow.
He studied this back in the 30s, and he saw the impact that the American motion picture industry had worldwide on the youth. And he said, we must use these principles, even if they don't recognize them as such, in Hollywood.
Wow.
It's like 50 years ago, when Hollywood was going belly up because they went from a format of every Thursday and Sunday, you had 2 new movies and 3 new cartoons at every theater in the chain, which meant they had to make, 200, 150 movies a year. They were going broke, and color television was driving them down. They came up with 2 remedies. They came up with the idea of blaxploitation movies, giving black folk movies like Superfly and all this other stuff that glorified dysfunction, so that we would go spend money and they would get cash flow. And then the other thing is from 50 cents as an adult, you get 2 movies, 3 cartoons, stay as long as you want. It went to $1.50, you got 1 movie. And the other point is because the regular executives were failing, they started putting in a crowd that basically were empathetic to what's going on right now. And 50 years ago, I used to hear them on UCLA's campus give speeches to 3,000 or 4,000 students at a time as they laid out how they were going to do it. And they're doing it.
And right in front, so you're saying that these students knew the plan?
Yeah. Well, see, it's like this. Back in the 30s, if you wanted to be a real down man, whether you were black or white, James Cagney, Humphrey Bogart, this kind of thing. What did Clark Gable say?
Kids back then.
Yeah. Frankly, Charlotte had don't give a damn, And then you got Woody Strode, who played for the Rams and started in 47, and he became an actor. He did a lot of westerns, so black kids started emulating him, and he played Spartacus's backup in a movie they had about him way back when, and you got these things where kids emulate the movie stars, Clint Eastwood, John Wayne, you name it. And it was not just a black-white thing, but it was masculinity. So they started copying it. But nowadays, what do they have to copy? my B's and my H's, they selling, and I'm moving grams, and East Coast versus West Coast, gangster rap versus hip hop, and Biggie Smalls and Tupac, and like, whoa, it doesn't make any sense, but they glorified dysfunction. And then they got all these black male stars running around in dresses. I mean, all of them have had to put on a dress to keep working. And you see, what they do is, the interesting part about it is, do you remember the name of the gangster in Scarface about the Cuban gangsters? No, you don't. You remember Al Pacino. Right. Do you remember Don Corleone? You might, but you remember Marlon Brando. You see what I'm saying?
I see.
So people identify with the characters. Now let's take Black Panther. Black Panther is bad. They had the same actor playing Thurgood Marshall, and he doesn't look anything like Thurgood Marshall. Thurgood Marshall, when he was young, looked quite a bit like that actor they've got is the family head in Empire. All right?
All right.
They had him playing Jackie Robinson, same person. And in Gods of Egypt, they had him playing a flaming gay god of wisdom. So in other words, the public's eye, the youthful eye, identifies, the superhero as being gay. Wow. The superhero being a conscientious black man, you see. So they get that image all up in their heads. See, John Wayne only played one role. It was in multiple movies, but it was John Wayne. Clint Eastwood only played one role, but it was Clint Eastwood in multiple movies. Jim Brown played one role, but it was always Jim Brown in multiple movies. Now you got these folk that are like chameleons.
That is true.
And that conditions the public along with this tranny thing so that they think, oh, you can be anything you want to be, fluid gender. And that's passe about men having to have these obligations. So when you take this logic, rationality, reason, and hardcore performance out of the picture, you get, it's an emotional thing.
My feelings. It's all about my feelings.
Yes.
Feminine.
And by the way, that's why you see what you see in American politics, because they took the man component out of it. Not saying women are screwed up or anything, right, but they don't have to deal with the masculine component of being reasonable and logical and screw all this emotion. It's all about the feelings. You don't talk about what somebody's performance in office is. You talk about who's screwing who. Talk about tabloid stuff instead of rational stuff that's going to go in a history book.
Right. It's as if they purposefully, Judge, keep us ignorant and out of the loop to control us.
It's not just us. You see, we serve another animal-like function for the society. We're like guinea pigs. When you got a new drug or a new procedure, you try it out on the guinea pigs and see how it works. And if it works, then you apply it to the people. But you see, in America, black men are the guinea pigs, black women secondarily. So I guess they're lab rats or the lab mice, white mice, or colored mice or whatever it may be. So they try it out on the black man guinea pig to see how it works. And then they extend it to the whole society. How do we make men in the black community dysfunctional? See, I'm old enough to have seen this stuff develop, where there was a consistency that I saw until I got in my 20s, that my father told me about. I heard my grandfathers tell me about. They told me their fathers and grandfathers told them about it, and it was consistent. And then I just saw it change into something else.
Right. It morphed with the comedians.
Yeah. It's like they used to have this thing, the white feminists on campus would say, war is a man thing, girls, and men need to learn to express themselves, to emote, to cry, to shout, to let it all hang out instead of trying to be so uptight and under control. And see, women we let it out so we don't keep it in and let it build up, and we can throw crockery or stomp our little feet, and we are peaceful, but men are violent and they cause war. You know, I listen to that nonsense. What the hell? And then I'm looking at it now. 50 years later, and I'm looking at it. More than 50 years.
So it's a toxic, effeminate agenda.
Yeah, exactly. And see, it's anti-masculine. One, because men are dangerous.
Right.
Two, it's hard to be a man. Three, there are some who are very jealous of the prerogatives men have. But you see, that's like somebody walks in with a Congressional Medal of Honor, the generals salute him. Everybody salutes him, you know, because this is one bad dude, right? So when you were a man and you were expected to protect against the fire-breathing Gila monsters, dragons, sharks, grizzly bears, wolves, hyenas, lions, tigers, and leopards, and cougar, and panthers, and everything, you know, you can stick your chest out. These are the protectors.
Yes.
And they're dangerous, but you wanted to keep them on your side and friendly to you. Mothers told their sons, grow up to be a man. Or the Spartan women said, son, come back with your shield on it.
Right.
Why? Because as a woman of the tribe or of the clan or of the city or of the town or of the village, she had a vested interest in her son becoming one of the protectors in the village.
Right. Not becoming one of the maidens. Oh, I identify as a maiden, Judge. I'm not going to do the warrior thing.
Well, yeah. And see, that is cheating. They have the right to do that. You can, you know, in a free society, well, a society like ours, you can come up with all kinds of excuses for not doing your duty.
Right.
Conscientious objector of otherwise, but you see, men and women have a role that has been built up over millennia, and it's kind of like boys don't hit girls because boys are stronger than girls, but you're taking that out of the picture. Women and children in the lifeboat first, but you see, they don't want to do the man thing, and they're certainly not women, so why should men let somebody that's gay get in the lifeboat with the women?
Exactly.
Like, get your ass out here and do what you're supposed to do. Now, a classic illustration of that. My now ex-wife and I went with some friends to New Orleans for a music fest, all right?
Right.
So we're coming back from the music fest that particular evening, and there is a shuttle bus back to the hotel. So my wife gets on, some other women get on, so I waited for all of the ladies to get on the bus because they were complaining about their feet hurt, right?
Right.
So I step on, and there's one seat, I'm going to take that, and another lady came running up, so I got off the bus and yielded to her. She says, no, go on to take the seat. You need to sit next to your wife. I said, that's okay, go take the seat. So we're discussing that. Two gay boys walked up and said, honey, hell no. I'm getting the seat. You sit on my lap, friend. And they went up, and I grabbed one by the collar, snatched him off the bus, and threw him up against the wall. I said, damn if you get on there before the ladies do. So one of the women just said, honey, look, let me fix this. Babe, get up and sit on your husband's lap. All right. So that's how it worked out. So all, you know, we went back. They stood out there. They weren't going to come in and take the women's prerogative and do it. Now, the worst thing that I see is not any intrusion on a role. There's nothing wrong with women in athletics, but they've been fighting hard to get some kind of athletic parity, you know, in terms of respect for what they do athletically.
Absolutely.
But now you got these, whatever they are, boys' bodies with a malfunctioning guidance system who want to claim that they're girls, and they get to compete against the girls and still got a dick.
Right. They get to fight against them. They get to get the scholarship over them for college.
Yeah. Like running track. Like, it didn't see, there's been some athletic rules proposed that are getting a big pushback where we do a DNA test. If you've got XXY, you can't compete like you can't in the Olympics. See, this is going to be an equal playing field. This girl, you got a dick and an XY, you go compete with the guys. So, well, he can be what he wants to be. Well, no, I ain't getting up and giving my seat away to him. So what the hell is he supposed to be? He's not protecting these women who are occupying the seats or in the lifeboat. So what good is he for? He's just exercising license. He's got the right, the absolute right, but pull your load.
I have a question for you, Judge, from the chat room. Ask Judge about Biden the bigot, and was Nipsey Hussle a hit from higher up when gang bullish? I guess them strike.
Okay, that question I can tell is from somebody 35 or under. All right. Biden has been a loser his whole political career. He's a third stringer every now and then because the first two teams have somebody playing in his position get hurt. He gets in the game. He doesn't do much. We don't even need to get to the point of him being biased and bigoted, but the Democratic Party, again, has been so assured of our support, continued support, irrespective of the reality of the situation, that they seriously countenance running somebody who's been an enemy of the people they're asking for support from. You know, what has Biden done for us? Nothing. Nothing. Nada, zip, zero. Okay, for that matter, we love, black folk just love them some Hillary Clinton because she was a Democratic Party candidate. See, Hillary Clinton back in 1964 was a Goldwater girl. Yes. Barry Goldwater was running for U.S. president against LBJ. And he was the first presidential candidate since before the start of the 1930s to start regularly pulling the race card out of the hat. She's a Goldwater girl. She was a Republican. She talked about politics sitting around the dinner table, but her parents were staunch, laissez-faire, capitalistic Republicans, and Daddy worked for arch enemy of the people, Goldman Sachs. Right? When she went to an all-girls school, Wesley, the first thing she did was become chair of the young Republicans there. Now, in 1966, there was a problem in Chicago. The University of Illinois had a campus there, and they were engaged in official segregation. Black kids couldn't eat in certain cafeterias. They couldn't socialize in certain places. They had to sit in certain places at events. And this is in Chicago. So Bernie Sanders, who was chair of a core chapter, that's Congress of Racial Equality, was struggling. UCLA, late 1966, started at BSU, and I was one of the delegates that got sent to Chicago to try and help with that situation. So Bernie had just gotten himself out of jail behind it, and guess who's out there with a sign demonstrating to support the segregation? It's little Miss Hillary with her Coke bottle glasses on. And then later on, we went back because King had come at the beginning of 67 because this had spilled over into the Chicago suburbs where they still had rampant segregation. So Miss Hillary and her parents were out there supporting continued segregation. They didn't get it, and that's why they left Illinois, the Chicago area, and moved to upstate New York, where Daddy continued to work for those arch villains, Goldman Sachs, that are exempt from the federal banking laws so that they can have whatever size accounts they have with absolutely not one dime having to be on deposit to back them up. That's why we had the bailout bill and the Economic Incentive Act, the two biggest expenditures in the whole history of the United States of America, to bail out Goldman Sachs because their accounts got too big with nothing to back them up, and it was marginal. It could have thrown the whole world into a severe depression. So, see, and then, Goldman Sachs sponsored her, and in 14 months leading up to her run as a candidate in the Democratic primary, She claimed falsely under oath that she had only received 13 million. Actually, it was 26 million when WikiLeaks got through leaking what they did, and nobody's talked about prosecuting her for perjury. But see, $26 million raised for you from the same source is an outright upfront bribe.
You think?
But we love some Miss Hillary.
Well, me, Miss
Now,
Hillary.
I mean, but let's be fair. Let's talk about Donald Trump. Okay, Donald Trump has dated his share of black women in his life. He's also got another thing. Well, Jesse Jackson ran for president twice. Guess who raised most of the money for him? Donald Trump.
Right.
There are black businessmen in this area around here. If you talk to them, say, I don't want to say anything, man. I don't want all this negative feedback, but man, I was trying to start a business and I needed a loan, and Trump loaned me the money I needed. And when I came back, it was a term loan with a check to pay him back. He said, this all I'm supposed to get you? I said, yes, sir, it is. He said, well, here, and tore it up. All I wanted was you to come back and say you were going to act in good faith, and I'm going to get that hit. You know, I don't see Hillary doing that. Wow. I don't see anybody, a Democrat, doing that, but we hate this guy. And you know what I think he's all about? He's getting bad mouthed because he represents the masculine component. He's crazy, but he represents, I ain't taking no smack off of nobody. And if somebody wants to get out there, I'm going to talk about him, and I don't care if it hurts their feelings. See that feminine principle? You hurt somebody's feelings, you're supposed to say, oh, I'm so sorry, I hurt your feelings. I know it hurts so bad, even if you're telling the truth about the no good scoundrel.
It's so funny. That is so funny. I did not hear that story about Trump being that encouraging to folks. You know, you loan them money, they come back with the money. Here you go. That almost puts a, you know.
Yeah, well, see, and Hillary, the Clintons relied on him raising money for them for years. See, he made when he first got to the national limelight back in the 90s, he used to talk about if he ever ran for president, which he didn't think he was going to do, he'd probably run as a Republican because they'd believe anything. And if he got Fox, he could get Fox to push whatever crazy thing he wanted pushed. And what I think he's trying to do is destroy both political parties as they are now. See, he co-opted the Republican Party because he'd never been a Republican. The problem is the Democratic Party set up that super delegate thing that defeated Bernie Sanders, who could have won. Trump even acknowledges Bernie could have beat him. And it was guaranteed to get Hillary in. It backfired when Barack Obama got in, who, by the way, is a colored face, but he's not ADOS, you know, American descendant of slavery or a slave. You know, he has no slave ancestors. And if we ever got this reparation so many people are talking about it, he wouldn't qualify. It's interesting. But see, we fall for appearances, and we go for stuff like, you go see things like Girls Trip, and you got all these supposedly college-educated women, and they act like stupid fools.
Right.
You know, college women don't act like that. You know, but it's dysfunction, and, you know, it glorifies it, and young black women start trying to emulate it, and they act a fool. You have girls going to a prom half naked, and the school lets them in there, and the parent lets them out of the house, and they tell you that they're modeling themselves on Kim Kardashian, who's not black, but for goodness sakes, how the devil did that get to be a role model for young black girls?
Marketing.
Yeah, well, it's dysfunction. See, yes. They push the dysfunction and see how it works on the guinea pigs. And the main target in this country is masculinity. So if it works on the most overtly masculine group, to wit black men, then it'll work on anybody. But you see, masculinity is not about appearances. It's not about beating your chest and pumping a lot of iron. It's about conduct. It's about outlook on the world. See, masculinity is a set of behavioral protocols that if you put in a boy's head will get him acting appropriately as a man. He will be a man of peace who can be brave and courageous when necessary, who takes care of public order and public dignity. He makes where he lives a better, safer, more secure place filled with economic prosperity, sense of purpose, ethics, and morality. He doesn't talk nonsense about, yo, man, like, man, I'm dead, man. I'm going to be dead before I get 24, and I'm 23. There ain't no daylight at the end of my tunnel. But you see, that's not man. Because if you're a man, it doesn't make any difference if there's no daylight at the end of your tunnel. You have the people that you are responsible for, and your job is to fight through the fire-breathing Gila monsters that are setting fire to the tunnel, which is causing smoke so you can't see the end of it. You're supposed to fight through that to get the people you're responsible for to the end of that tunnel, even if you don't make it.
Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
But you see, we don't do that.
No, we don't.
And your typical gangbanger acts like a lesbian in a boy's body. See, a lesbian and a typical gangbanger are raised like girls. They have girl stuff put in their heads, but they both like nookie. Now, if a fairy godmother waved a magic wand and the lesbian woke up with a penis tomorrow, there'd be no difference between her and one of your typical gangbangers. They don't think like men. And if anybody out there is listening, talking about the posse they belong to, get over that, because that's not man. Because unless whatever organization you belong to is about the business of taking care of the women and children first, securing public safety and dignity where you live, you know, it ain't the thing.
No. And that's what we got to get on. I love that. That's what we have to get to. You're talking about principles that can be uploaded into a boy's brain that would last a lifetime.
Yeah. See, I had 18% recidivism in my courtroom over a 10-year period versus the statewide, national-wide 80%. Why? I taught manhood. So every morning when the guy would comb his hair, brush his teeth, shave, whatever it may be, the control factor was looking back at him in the mirror. In other words, man, did you do what you were supposed to do yesterday? Did you TCB? Or did you get trifling? Did you do something you weren't supposed to do? Are you going to do the right thing today? Or are you going to do something wrong? No, man, I'm going to do what I need to do. I feel better. And you see, you got to give a young man a sense of purpose.
Yes.
That's why you got all this nonsense. They're giving the other side a sense of purpose, a cause. And straight boys, black, white, brown, red, yellow, they don't have a cause anymore. They give them nothing. But the other type, they have a cause. Their little thing, they don't want to fight for it, but they sure will badmouth somebody, switch and twitch, flip arms, and, you know, backstab trying to get it. That's their right under the Constitution. But as aforesaid, we don't have to sit there still without pushing back.
So, you know,
now, let me wind this up. I got a radio show I got to do.
Oh, yeah. I was just in Rambert. You know, I do appreciate you coming on. I thank you for sharing the wisdom for the young folks, as you always do. And I know because of the last show we did together, the response I got from it, you're having a definite effect out here, Judge, and we just want to say thank you.
Let me say one last quick thing. Young people, get radical. I mean, you do crazy stuff, but you're not really radical. You don't scare old folk. We look at you and say, why are they so tame and complacent and compliant? Do something. I mean, 19 and 22-year-olds ask me, Judge, what should we do about the problem around the campus? How the hell do I know? I'm an old man. Do something that scares me. But I'm looking at you and you're going, damn, we wouldn't have put up with this. What's wrong with these kids?
That is excellent. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, it's time to get energized. It's time to win the argument, not by words, but by our actions.
There you go. Now I got to get out of here.
All righty.
Ciao.
Peace. Yes, guys and gals. Judge Joe Brown. Oh, wow. That was an epic interview. Want to thank you all for watching. This has been a special TPIM. That's our live. The studio audience just got up and I'm watching them run around. It's this, what an awesome, lovely day. Thank you, Most High. Today's date, April 10th, or not April, excuse me, May 10th, 2019, the year of our Lord. As always, live your life without envy, without greed, without hatred, but live your life with, drum roll, integrity. Yes, Haida, we are at war. We've been at war, but that would be another show. I'm working on trying to bring back one of my past guests, very influential individual, the ex NSA agent, hint, hint, and hopefully we're going to get him later on. So this is going to be an exciting day. We're going to be pushing out a lot of content today because I have to get back to the drywall job, making some money around my place so I can continue to broadcast from Missouri. But I just want to say thank you to all the fans. Thank you for everyone supporting the show, the new Patreon members, the people who support the show with the super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and bless you all. Peace.